I appreciate you sharing that sentiment, Bill. Um, One of the things that I was writing down while you were talking, we were talking about identity, and I was listening for nouns or ways that you described yourself. I'm relating it to something I wrote a while ago about all the different hats I feel I've worn over the years. And so, probably in the first 45 seconds, I heard you say bomb tech, shop chief, old man, shop chief, 40-year-old guy, and noob. Um, I just thought it was interesting that those were some of the things that you started off with. It didn't start off with your rank. It didn't start off with your pay grade. Um, it started off, it seems to me, as things that were held closest to what your identity was at the time. Um, would that be sort of accurate, or what do you think?
Yeah, I should have said enforcer, especially at Minot.
Well, yeah, that's a topic for a whole nother like 5 hours. All the ways that Mario messed up at his first
Yeah,
assignment and had learned from the hard ways and the hard
yeah.
path. Yes, absolutely.
No, it's true, and the different hats that we wear, the different lives that we live. Really, we people, humans, and not just military guys, but humans live different lives throughout their life, and they're it's a constant, I don't know, phase or is it sine wave? You know,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
you're changing, and your identity and your roles change. And I think it's more structured in the military because of our PCS moves and all that. And I think the other thing that impacted me personally and my identity was that time I did working for DITRA, where it was a quasi civilian job, uh, where I was in and out of uniform depending on the mission, and maintained hair longer than it is today. While I was in uniform, which was pretty cool, and having the opportunity to tell Mario to put all that shit in his face for for an undercover training. Put all your piercings in and go distract the
We're
team.
going to work. Yeah. No, but those are interesting concepts that you bring up. And one of the things is it seems like that last role helped as a sort of a pseudo segue into your next role, which your role in life, I think, ultimately plays identity. But when we talk, I think when we're ultimately asked, you know, hey, how are you? Who are you? Or what should, or identify yourself. Context is important, but you know, I look at Weber, and I'm like, he's a fisherman, he's a dad, he's my one of my best friends. He's former colleague, current colleague. These are identities that I've observed him. You know, I look at people in this group. You've all been mentors to me, and friends, and teammates, and team members for a long time, and that rapport is, I think, part of that identity that we have shared at times. Uh, and one of the things, and I'm super thankful that Bill, you joined us, because that transition from the uniform and that life and that priorities and the things you felt you could or couldn't do in that culture, that changed over time with your difference in role and identity. or a progression or evolution of your identity, let's say. Um, and I think it's important to realize, it's important to speak to how we navigated those times. Gerbo and I have spent time talking about this. I think I spoke with Mike Mack or somebody from the EOD Warrior Foundation. Some of the there were like 2 or 3 kind of like main phases that people might get out, like terms that they get out on. And it kind of, some people get out and they want nothing to do with the military. They move completely away from a base and that community. There are others that I think transition into a civilian or civil version of, and sometimes there's a little bit of both. I think that plays a huge factor in how the role and identity changes over time. Gerbo's mentioned sometimes, I don't know if he's still on, if he wanted to talk about when he transitioned in that role and how that looked over time. Because I think, and I've said this before, when you're in the uniform, you're in that world, and I don't want to say you abide by its rules, but it's its own environment. It's its own culture. It's its own system. Things that process to learn. What do you think, guys? Anything on that? Anything trying to help as far as how the identity is shifted, and how to help people that are still on the other side of the transition? How do we front load some of these hard lessons learned more? I'll shut up now.
Well, you went all max headroom the last like 10 or 15 seconds of your conversation. I didn't catch what you were your final summing up of the question was. But yeah, it is interesting. There are some folks that want nothing to do with the community, with the military, with any of that, and that's an individual perspective that's based a lot on, I think, their relationships they had in the military with folks, with the jobs. I mean, I know that I didn't even look for any of the Department of the Air Force positions that a lot of these guys took, mainly because of my disgruntled attitude toward the corporate Air Force, and a lot of frankly, there were a lot of Cold War chiefs, I called them, that had created positions for themselves when they were at headquarters billets that they specifically created for their retirement. And they continued to pollute the career field with their outdated ideas for quite some time after, retirement. Not that I have any particular feeling or am at all bitter about that at all. But then there's folks that are want to maintain that and find something where they can keep basically doing the same thing or very similar, when they're done. That's kind of what I did, in that I went from a job from that Stuttgart position, did my time at Inserlik. I needed to do that so that I could get my, do my time in the sandbox, as it were, as I felt that I needed to do that because I had been kind of out of the deployment schedule for those 4.5 years. But then I went to a job that was basically the same thing, except working with Customs and Border Guards from all these different Central Asian and Eastern European countries. So, I went from to basically doing the same thing, but for a lot more money and better travel benefits. But